Hello and welcome to Stylish Chats with Creatives. Today on the podcast, I'm speaking to Ali O'Neill, who is a local artist from Holmfirth and goes under the name of Folks and Fabric. Hello.
Hello.
It's so nice to see you.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here.
It's so nice to record at my house. And you've met Coco, who's flashing her belly.
Just cuddles.
Just constant cuddles.
Yeah, just adorable.
Oh, look at her. Look at her. Well,
she's just beautiful.
Hopefully she'll just be quite quiet today.
Good girl.
Yeah, good girl. Hopefully. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. And I just want to find out about how you became the Folks and Fabric artist of Holmfirth. How has this happened?
The Folks and Fabric artist of Holmfirth. Well, I guess it's a bit of a funny journey, really. So I left probably the best place to start is I left my job about 12 months ago, and I used to work in education for the local authority. It was a really sexy job. Yeah, I loved it. It was just amazing. No, it was a pretty soul-destroying job. And I kind of reached the end of a road with it, really. I'd been doing a lot of creative stuff. So before I ended up working in like local authority hell, I'd been an actor and a writer, and I'd done lots of stuff in my 20s and trodden more of a creative path. And then I met a boy. I met a boy and we had children, and ended up in this really miserable existence, really, of just making money and paying a mortgage and doing the things that I guess normal people do. Do I want to say normal people do? I guess that was what it was. And 12 months ago, I just hit a brick wall with it, and I thought I just want to go back to my creative roots. And I just looked at my husband one day, and I said the most terrifying words he's ever heard, and it was, I'm leaving my job. We're going to lose quite a lot of money per month, and I'm going to go and do something I don't really know what it is, but I want to create something around Holmfirth and go back to my illustration roots. So I trained originally as an archaeological illustrator when I was doing my degree in the early 2000s. So that was where my kind of interest in illustration came, and I just thought I wanted to do something that kind of reflected the really uniqueness of Holmfirth. And I was really seeing the change in landscape of Holmfirth, I guess, and we were getting all these characters in, and all this stuff kind of like this, all these threads that my early life had. So I did archaeology and anthropology at university. I'd worked in project management and done all these horrendous little kind of journeys around normal living and all this kind of stuff. I loved kind of writing about characters and drawing characters, and I just thought Holmfirth is the perfect foil for it. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about folks. I was really interested in the people we were seeing. I love the buildings, so I'm really into the heritage of Holmfirth. And it was all these threads that kind of came together, and I thought, right, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. I'm leaving my job, and I'm going to pursue my passion for illustration again, and I'm going to go back and do that. And I'm going to do it about Holmfirth. So there was a point before I started to do Folks and Fabric, and I was in that job, and it was really miserable. And I was kind of exploring teaching myself digital illustration, essentially. So I was doing a lot of traditional illustration after my kind of archaeological illustration days. And I really kind of growing up alongside my kids, I was starting to look at children's book illustration, and I absolutely loved it. It was just beautiful. It is probably to this day the most beautiful community is children's book illustration. It's a really unique community. So I was writing books whilst working in this horrendous job and sending stuff off, and I loved doing it, but it was a really thankless task, kind of going out to publishers and agents, and I kind of just lost a bit of drive and love for it. So kind of towards the end of that traditional job, I kind of stopped doing that side of stuff, and then I just thought I wanted to do something that was narrative, so it was about storytelling, but so it just felt like it was a really natural progression to do something about, create this brand that was about the people and the places of Holmfirth, the moments, the stories. So that's how it came about. And I've just an interest in people, and an interest in the place, and just telling the story of it.
Yeah.
So I just left a job in panic and fear, and I said to my husband, just give me some time to think about. I've got this. I think I've got this embryonic idea of what I want to do, and I kind of want to become almost like not the illustrator of Holmfirth, but I guess in a way that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Is, look, let's do the people, let's do the moments, let's do the places, because it is such an incredible foil, I guess.
Yeah. It's got so many. I mean, you could walk down there today and you'd see so many creative looking people.
Yeah.
People wearing crazy outfits. Or there's like kids that are just thrown on every single item in their wardrobe. And like the buildings are so gorgeous. I think it was the Society WhatsApp chat the other day you'd posted in about the history, and I was like, oh my God, I had no idea about all of this stuff.
There are stories, and that's something absolutely, like, I've got in my mind I want to do something about, because and I guess it comes back to the archaeology. There's layers upon layers of stories here. Yeah. And so if I get my kind of like book head on, and I think, hang on, there's loads of stories we need to tell. There's loads of tales. There's so much history. Yeah. The flood, the characters, you've got these characters like the Fenella, the tiger, and just so many things that pop up. But there are generations with those tales. Yeah. And there's something really interesting to me about telling that almost in a, I guess, like, I want to do something about Holmfirth from the earliest days of Holmfirth, so the story of when it began. So I'm talking like, let's go back really early to like, the Paleolithic times almost, and let's look at how those layers have built up, and we've created what is Holmfirth now, because I've seen it changed. I know we've talked about this before. I've seen it change loads, and I guess it's like any other town. They always you build on the heritage, don't you? You build on the stories. But yeah, it's just, why go elsewhere to create a story when the stories are here, the characters are here? Yeah,
and I think that's what attracts a lot of people to the town as well. Yeah, from a tourist point of view, and I mean, even for us, like when we moved, it was like, oh, there's like some stuff here that like. You just feel this sense of community, and you get all the views, and like there is that layer. I think you've only got to scratch a little bit, and then someone will stand there and chat to you for hours about, I don't know, how Cooper's Yard used to be a butcher's, and all this other stuff that that precedes us.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's so interesting that your mind's going like really far back, to kind of bring it, bring it to the forefront.
Well, let's go from the two people who first were here. And how that landscape's changed, and how the buildings have changed, how the stories changed and stuff. I just think it's a really, really fascinating way of looking at human culture, and how human culture is shaped by all these different external influences.
Yeah. And I think I saw some pictures from the snow from like the 70s, I think. Yeah. And there was like, that was like 12 foot, it looked like.
Yeah.
Huge.
Immense snows.
People are sat on these images.
Yeah.
There's, they're in people's archives. They're in people's photo albums. And like to tap into that is really exciting. That's really exciting.
Yeah, I see stuff like I follow. I feel like such an old woman sometimes. I follow all these Holmfirth history, and they are absolutely fascinating. And they'll just pull like this old beautiful black and white photo out of, I don't know where they pull it out of, but it's just like, I've never seen that. I never even knew that existed. Yeah, so many little stories, like about the Lido, the swimming pool.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, well, let's look. What's the stories around that? I want to talk to some people who knew it. There must have been some characters that used to go there.
Also, why is it not open?
Why?
I'd be down there.
I know.
I'd be right down there. We did a history walk. There's a walkers group, isn't there?
Yeah.
So we did one of those when we first got here, I think, and it took us like all the way out, and they were explaining about how the fields are slim and the reason why. I can't remember something to do with medieval times. And then they were saying this is the Lido. Me and they've looked at each other and thought,
I know.
Fuck me.
I know.
Lido in Holmfirth.
You don't. Yeah, I mean, I am still discovering stuff now in Holmfirth that I never even knew existed. I only realised that Wooldale existed when I moved there, really.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is absolutely stunning. What's the history of Wooldale? I didn't even know this was here.
Yeah.
It's just like buried in a back alley somewhere. So yeah, it's just fascinating. My mum and dad moved up here, actually. They moved not that long ago. My dad was like, so interesting. I can literally walk all day and find something of interest.
Yeah. And I feel like here we're never going to stop discovering walks and stop discovering stuff. Like every time I go on a walk, even if I've done the walk like 50 times, and I go like, oh, I didn't realise that house was there. Or, oh, I didn't realise that was there.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, stuff just seems to pop out.
Yeah, definitely. Or there's like a building. I go on a walk and there's like an old building that's left like up in like Homestays. And I'm like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
What were they doing there? Who were these people that were in this place?
Yeah.
There's this little footprint of stories everywhere.
Yeah.
I want to know who they are, what they did.
Yeah.
What they ate.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, I mean, you could go really deep, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could.
I'm just really nosy. I think that's what it comes from. I'm just nosy as hell. Like, you know, I just love it. I love it. And then that's the same as when I'm just wandering around Holmfirth and I see these incredible, you know, we've got all different characters come to Holmfirth now.
Yeah.
You know, I've definitely seen that in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
There was always, you know, when I first moved here, there were potters, there were artists. It was really focused. So there were characters, but we're seeing a really interesting mix of, visually, a really interesting mix of folk. So, like, I've just done one of this woman that I saw in these crazy zebra print trousers. I was just like, this is just there's textures and patterns and all sorts everywhere.
Yeah. And I almost want to stop people like that and be like,
yeah, I know.
Where'd you get them from?
I know. I'm tempted.
Why have you got them? It's almost
really tempted.
Do you know, you could be Humans of Holmfirth.
Do you know,
Humans of New York?
Yeah.
You could do Humans of Holmfirth.
That's kind of the tip I was going on. That was, I used to be so fascinated with those Humans of Amsterdam pages. Oh. And then I'm just not at a point where I really want to go up to people, but I also think they'll think, can you go away, please? Can you just not do that? Like, hello, I really like your pants.
Yeah.
Love your pants. Can I draw them? What, and who are you? And where are you going? And they'll be like, oh, this is against GDPR. Can you please leave me alone? Just go away, please.
Or you get really like annoyed, like old lady who's just like, piss off.
Yeah. I'm just off some tripe. Get on. Go on.
Yeah. Just bought my tongue.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just fab. I love it. There's just so much. The thing is, there's so much to do. And I've only got two pairs of hands. I've got one pair of hands and two, I don't know. Anyway, the hands are limited.
Yeah.
So, but there's just so many things going around my head of what we can do and what kind of things I can show about Holmfirth. I just love it. It's ace.
Yeah. I think the layers to Holmfirth are just immense. I mean, like the tour bus. We might see it today. I did notice that he was having troubles with the tour bus getting it insured or something.
Oh,
it came up on Facebook.
Did you? Is there a story I've missed, Charlotte, about the tour bus?
Well, there is a couple of stories about the tour bus. So, you are sitting in a famous property. This was on Last Summer Wine.
Are you serious?
Yes. So we didn't know until my mother-in-law was like, should we go on the tour bus? And me and Nathan like rolled our eyes like, oh, bloody hell, Last Summer Wine. Like, all right, we'll go on it. You know, we remember from like on a Sunday night, you'd have it on and mum would be like, it's your bath time. And so it was like...
It was like depressing like bullseye moment.
Yeah, like we knew, like, right, okay, Sunday night is like winding in because we're watching Last Summer Wine. So... we kept getting the bus like slow past our house and we couldn't really figure out why because previous owners hadn't told us. And all we got told by the neighbours was like, it's just a tour that goes round and it's like an older guy. So we went and did the tour and he slowed down by the house and was like, this was on, I can't remember what episode. I mean, they looked at our house, looked at each other and went, oh shit. So They have gone past while I've been in like my dressing gown. And so just to explain to listeners, our house is like, we've got a drive and then it's the road, and the road's not particularly busy, but we've got 3 quite big windows at the front, and our bathroom window is at the front of the house. Now this will come in a second, but I've been like making cups of tea, like looking like a complete scraggly mess in the like on a Saturday morning, say at 11. Then the bus tour slows down and there's all people with their phones filming. So no doubt I'm on some Facebook group. And then last year I was like, I had a nice long shower and thought, I'll just moisturise myself. Put the loo lid down and was like moisturising my legs. Fucking bus went past, didn't it?
A treat for them.
Oh my God. And I thought to myself, now, are we at a point where we start charging for things like this?
I want to know what it was on for.
So it was on the front, used to have like a little garden, and it was like I think it was a Houdini episode or something, and like they were all barging around in the kitchen and out of the front door.
Oh, I will be Googling this.
Yeah, so do, because I think we tried to find it and we found we managed to find a tiny clip of it, and it was before next door was built as well, so like
that is phenomenal.
Yeah,
that is phenomenal. You are in the annals of Holmfirth history. That is an achievement.
We said we need one of those blue plaques, you know, like the history ones, but you can get them from a very well-known card shop and you can personalise them. So we were debating doing that and
do it
out to the eyes of the house. Then it explained why it was slowing down every time. So they have definitely seen my arse. And when we were doing the kitchen, you know what it's like when you're renovating a bit and you've just got bits of shit out everywhere. And it came past as like half the kitchen was sat outside. It looked like a shithole. I mean, it doesn't look much better at the minute, but it just, and I thought, I'm so embarrassed because he's like showing like the history of it. But the amount of times I've been stuck behind that fucking coach coming up the hill.
Oh God, I know.
He's so slow.
I know.
He's so slow, bless him.
I know. Yeah, definitely. Although I have seen now you're telling me that beautiful old coach, I think, has been swapped for a big white transit van that's got just a huge sticker on that says TV location store, which is not quite as sexy, is it?
No, I think from what I gather, he was trying to sell it.
Oh,
sell the business, because I do think he is a little bit older.
Yes.
And also something, when I've done the tour, I remember he either rented out a location or was something to do with the locations within Holmfirth.
Oh, really?
So it was something to do with Last of Summer Wine. So, I mean, he's making a fucking mint off it.
Is he?
Because he's charging a tenner a seat. And he's got a good 10 or 12 seats in there.
Oh, do you know what? I'm going to have to confess, I've lived here for however many years and I've never done the tour.
You should do it.
I really should. I feel like I should.
It's hilarious. It was one of those where like me and Nave sat there and just thought, is this going to be one of those cheesy things that we think, why the fuck have the in-laws dragged us on this? And actually we all came off it howling with laughter.
Oh my God.
It was really funny.
I need to go on it.
Yeah, it was really funny. And I've seen the new bus thing, so I don't know whether he's been bought out or I hope the coach hasn't been.
Oh, but it's an institution.
Yeah. But also the fuel gauge, when we were in there, the fuel gauge was swinging from full to empty and depending on which way you went up or down the hill.
Amazing.
So
if he's upwards.
Yeah, it was full.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, I mean, I think there's space for, we were having a chat about this, about like Holmfirth changing, and there's space for these older things to happen, but we shouldn't rely on Last of the Summer Wine to still get us for another 50 years.
No. I think you're right. And I think that is naturally, you are seeing that natural evolution.
Yeah.
You know, it is definitely, it's not relying on that. I mean, there's been however many articles in The Guardian and The Times and you've seen the result of that, I think.
Yeah.
Is, you know, all these new independent businesses popping up.
Yeah.
And they're amazing and fabulous. And it's great that there is this influx. I just don't want to lose the layers that have come before, because, you know, the layers that have come before are what made everybody want to come here in the first place. And it is what's made it unique. but there's room for everything, I think, and just an acknowledgement that times change.
Yeah.
Times change, but also an acknowledgement that actually there are things that created it to be what it is. So I think I'm quite respectful of that. I think I'm quite respectful of that, and I think that's a good thing to be, because there's still people here who were born here who have a very different history and a very different knowledge of Holmfirth, and I want to be respectful of that in some ways.
Yeah.
Because when I moved here, I was referred to as a cummer-inner many times, and I heard that all the time.
Yeah.
And you know what? I kind of go, yeah, do you know what? That's absolutely fine. You can say that. That's 100%. I've been here 20 odd years or whatever now, but that's fine. I appreciate your town. We're all cummer-inners in some way, aren't we?
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think, like, for us, we're originally from the Fens, like East Anglia.
Nice.
Where it's like completely flat. You can see, like, for miles. Just.
Do you like hills, Charlotte?
Yeah.
You do?
It's a different. I mean, after looking at one view for 25 years, I'm quite happy to look at something different.
Fair enough.
But it's one of those, like, the appreciation for the history of where you come from. And, like, I look at the little town I'm from, and I wish the councillors were a bit more, is the right word, stringent on the big businesses coming in. I wish they'd, like, kept it like Holmfirth is, full of independence, because it would have made for a nicer feeling in the town. But I also understand why they've done it. They needed to elevate it, and and I think if small towns can hold on to parts of their history and weave it into like the newer parts of, it's the best balance.
That's absolutely right. I think that's absolutely right. Don't lose the heritage. The heritage is what makes it really special. Yeah. But do things in alignment with it, I think, and you're onto a winner, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. That's somebody's house alarm that keeps going off.
Rave.
It's really annoying. It keeps going off, like, I think it's Fishman's house.
Fishman's house? I need to illustrate Fishman, obviously.
You do need to illustrate Fishman, because he's local.
Is he half man, half fish?
Yeah, top half is fish. Legs of a man. No, bless him, he's really lovely. He owns the fish shop the other side of town.
Fishman.
I call him Fishman.
Amazing.
I'm just, like I was saying to you off air about the nicknames I had for a certain neighbour's cat, which I won't repeat. I end up giving people nicknames, or like I know people's dogs' names, and then I'm like, oh, hi Bella, and they're like, hey, how are you? And I'm like,
I think all cats named after dictators, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Especially when they've got a certain toupee and moustache. I won't repeat that story on there. But yeah, I do think the history of the town is something that's really interesting. And I think that you're doing it in because you're doing stuff digitally as well. Yeah. Like, I cannot get my head around digital art. Like, I cannot get my head around it. And I've seen you work, and I'm like, how is this? How are you doing it? So how did you find that transition from being more traditional into digital?
Absolutely easy as hell, in all
really?
honesty. Yeah. You know what? It's a really funny thing. For ages, I was I went in my 20s, I was quite, not anti-digital, but, I worked with really fine detail, like rotring pens, technical illustration, really. And I loved that. I did lots of other stuff as well. I worked in gouache and watercolour and all sorts of stuff. And I loved it, but it's no different. It is no different. And I say this to everyone. What I do is no different. It is just a different medium. Yeah. So I really wanted to try it because I just loved some of the stuff, the vibrancy, and it's such a different way in kids' book illustration. I just think there's some absolutely beautiful digital art. It often gets overlooked because, a lot of people were, I guess, really into that traditional. Then they feel like there needs to have a hand in it. It's still got a hand in it. It's all done. Yeah. It's absolutely hand drawn. But I remember just saying to my husband one day, I really want to have a go at it. And I got very spoilt, got gifted a Wacom tablet.
Oh, nice, yeah.
For Christmas. And it sat on my desk for ages. And I was like, I should have a go at this. And I downloaded Illustrator and Photoshop. And it took me ages to teach myself. Yeah. And I hated it, and I put it down, and I'm like, this is horrendous. This is awful. It's not even real, and I'm not doing it, and it's awful. And so this expensive thing sat on my desk for ages, and then one day I had to make the decision of, am I getting rid of this, or am I going to commit to it?
Yeah.
So I just made a commitment to myself to teach myself how to do it, and it was a really steep learning curve.
Yeah.
And it was something totally different. I'm not very techie. But I just taught myself, and you've got access to so many, YouTube. You only have to watch. There's so many things on YouTube. Yeah. You can teach yourself if you've got any aptitude at all. And I would say to people, if you want to do it, just do it that way. So yeah, I just taught myself, and it's exactly the same techniques that I use. And I absolutely love it, Charlotte. I absolutely love it. So I keep saying I sold some stuff at Art Week, and I was having some conversations with some of the people who were buying it, and a lot of people are absolutely mesmerised with digital art, that you can create the detail, You're just drawing with pixels, essentially, aren't you?
Yeah.
But it's exactly the same. It's just not paint, or it's just not ink. It's just pixels. But it's exactly the same thing. And I love it. I love the workflow. I love that you can...
Excuse me.
You're all right, don't worry. That you can kind of, make mistakes, and it's much more forgiving when you're doing that. And I think that's the reality of being a busy mum and all that type of stuff makes it so much easier in some respects. That's all right. I don't know, you're dying, slowly dying. Just, you know what I mean? Don't die as fish man. He'll be in here straight away. Fish man. Don't put any water in a jug. Fish man will be all over it.
Fucking hell.
Oh,
no, it's just a random...
Nice picture room.
Thanks.
You see? Always the Holmfirth link, always.
That's it. These as well, these picture drone mugs, the handles, they interlink so that you can just, when you walk from the bar, you've only got to carry one handle and you can carry up to 4 drinks.
That's really good design, isn't it?
Yeah, really good. Really good.
Love that. That's great. They're lovely.
Yeah. We end up with those because Nath always knocks over a glass. So, we're just
an idiot's glass, plastic
basically.
Ones.
Yeah.
Like it.
That's what it is. Yeah, so you were talking about Illustrator and having the Wacom, and I do think it is a different medium. You're still creating, you're still drawing, you're still creating.
It's exactly it's exactly the same. For me, I don't see it as any different to when I was doing things in ink, or when I was doing, it's no different.
Do you still do stuff in ink and pencil? And
I don't really. So I had a little bit of time in between where I had a business called Shoe Tattoo, and I was doing hand painted custom shoes, and that was really successful. Actually, I was doing that probably one of the first people over this way to be doing. There was a lot of people in the States doing like baked kind of custom stuff, so I did a lot of that, and I was pretty successful. And I was doing stuff for bands in America and musicians up and down. So that was the last time I really worked traditionally, before I started exploring this digital side. But I am looking at doing a few projects that are more traditional. Yeah, I'm looking at working with some kind of creative companies, and we're talking about potentially doing some stuff that's kind of more that fine line, so more like my traditional archaeological illustration.
That's nice that you'll be able to that you can still do both and have that mix.
Yeah,
because I think sometimes, I don't know about you, I end up having loads of little craft projects on the go, and I can't just stick to one thing.
No.
And I'm like, actually, it's more for me, my brain needs to fill in that drawing itch, then go and do the stitching.
Yeah.
And kind of have a bit of everything.
Yeah. I'm definitely feeling I'm definitely feeling like I want to go back to doing something with the custom clothing, hand painted clothing.
Yeah.
That's definitely an itch I probably will need to scratch soon, I think.
Have you thought about chatting to Shannon at Dotty and doing like a jacket range?
No, that'd be good, wouldn't it, though?
Yeah.
I've done a few wedding shoes as well, like hand-painted wedding shoes, which are really...
Yeah.
I mean, I did like some rockabilly stuff when it was like, when that was hip, wasn't it? Like, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
But then some like really lovely hand-painted like silk wedding shoes and stuff.
Because you could do veils as well.
You could do all sorts, couldn't you? I mean, but it's like that whole thing about the two hands again.
Yeah, yeah.
Where do you put your focus, I guess? I want to do it everywhere. But, I just don't have time all the,
Yeah, I get that. Because often as well, I think it's being creative and like kind of having that brain where you go, oh, this is a great idea. And then you ping pong like those ping pong machines and you're trying a bit of everything.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And then you lose a little bit of focus, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing.
No,
like trying lots of different things.
I agree with you. It's just my tendency to then just... I'm terrible. Like, I've had lots of projects on the go. So I've had this shoe tattoo and I've done this and I've done that. And I was talking to Cicely about it.
Yeah.
We were talking, and I was saying I'm terrible for getting bored easily.
Yeah.
With something. So, but I'm so far, I'm really enjoying the folks and fabric stuff that I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying that. Because there's potentially loads of different elements to it. And I think I'm only just scratching the surface of what I can do with that, which is great. And it seems to be kind of holding my interest for now. But yeah, it's just time. And like you say, a commitment to it and not just flitting about and doing a bit of everything.
But I think also if somebody said to you, can you do me a like hand-painted jacket or wedding shoes?
Yeah.
I think it's one of those that you could have
definitely
alongside to kind of scratch that itch without kind of like fully being absorbed in it.
Yeah.
But it's such a nice thing. Like I'd have loved to have had hand-painted like wedding shoes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I know. I wish I had.
Yeah. I mean, I dip dyed my veil, so I didn't really want a veil.
That sounds nice.
Well, the story about my veil is I dip dyed it and it was bright pink at the bottom, fading into like white, and then hand stitched on iridescent sequins.
I really want to see this.
I'll have to show you when we're done. I'll show you because
definitely.
Then so it just clipped in the back, didn't go over the front. It was quite a long one, and I walked down the aisle. I'd tripped over my dress like 3 times, put a hole in my dress before we'd even walked down the aisle. And got down to the aisle, and halfway through our vows, my veil just went off the clip, and it slunk all the way down. And I picked it up; it was in a pool, and I just slung it at like my mum and my sister, and I just went, "Oh, I didn't want a bloody veil anyway." And it just like that was it. Then it was like in a pool somewhere, like it was just gathered up with the other stuff, at the end of the night. And I was like, bloody thing. And then I've thought what to do with it because it's such a long amount of fabric. It's like 2 meters, I think. So it's such a long amount of fabric. And I'm like, what do you do with it?
I know, you can't, it's not one of those things, is it, where you can, is it like tulle? Or
yeah. So you can't, like a netting type thing.
Is that what it's called? Tulle?
Yeah.
Tulle?
I can...
Tulle?
Tulle? I don't know.
Tulle?
Yeah, if we're going French. And I think, like, do I have it as like a canopy over the bed? And then I'm like,
nice.
Am I a princess?
Yes, you are, Charlotte.
But it's one of those, like, what do you do with it? And I was saying to Nath about the wedding dress. So we'd been married 6.5 years.
Yeah.
And the wedding dress has got the day on it. It's got a bit of mark, and there's a button missing off the back and like everything. And I said to Nath, do we get it framed? And he was like, that's a bit weird to frame it and hang it somewhere. And I was like, is it though? Because at the minute it's just in suitcase.
Isn't it crazy that it just gets forgotten about, like one of the most significant dresses of your...
Yeah. And it's so detailed and, it's just... left.
Hey, I know what you mean. I know what you mean when you think about it. It's really random, isn't it? That they just...
Yeah. And then, like, I was like, well, do I clean it and, like, sell it? And then I thought, well, my sister dropped, like, a glass of red wine on the back of it. So,
amazing.
Like, there's no way that's coming out.
No.
And then I thought, I don't think I'd be able to let it go because it holds such sentimental value. But then it's so detailed and so pretty. Like, so much handwork gone into it. So it's a piece of art within itself. But then, yeah, Nate thinks it's weird to get it hung up. So,
I know. Yeah, I mean, mine's disgraceful. It's absolutely disgusting. And it's in this beautiful, like, you know, the zip bag thing hung up like some kind of iconic thing in my wardrobe, but it is literally just like in tatters at the back. This beautiful lace is just black and in tatters. It just looks disgusting.
Yeah. Bottom of mine is the same.
I might have to just cut the bottom off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, I was like, do I then like dye it?
Imagine.
Do you know what I mean? Like just cut it. And
could you wear it out? Could you wear it like...
I mean, I'd rock it, I think.
I think you would.
But yeah, like, it's just dye, like, you know, what do you do? And my sister, she didn't get married in a dress. She got married in a Stella McCartney jumpsuit.
Oh, I mean,
like
that's
a white jumpsuit.
That's really posh as well, isn't it? That's real poshness.
Yeah. So we were like, she was like, I don't really want a traditional dress.
That sounds gorgeous.
And it was so nice, that halter neck. And she actually had the legs cut because it was a wide leg jumpsuit. So she's had the legs cut and worn it on holiday and all sorts.
Has she?
Yeah. So
that's the way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah. So she's had more value out of it because she bought something that was a bit more versatile.
Yeah, yeah.
And at the time, everyone was like, oh, she's wearing a jumpsuit. And I was like, she's rocking it. Yes. You can hear everyone being like, oh.
That's such a nice idea. Though,
yeah. Something completely different. I think if I got married again, there would definitely be leopard print, like, on the dress.
I mean,
like
it's your signature, isn't it?
Yeah. Unfortunately,
Glitter?
yeah. Glitter, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I just think, you know, back in when we got married, I was a bit more conscious of being traditional and like what
me too.
Other people expected us to look like.
Yeah.
And it was kind of pushing it that bridesmaids and groomsmen didn't match, you know? That was pushing the fucking boat out.
Ooh,
yeah.
Edgy.
Yeah. I know. And we put beer pong in the, like, we had like
that's
a little
legendary
event space. The dads ended up playing beer pong. And I had to step quite far away from the table because beer was being spilt everywhere.
That's a nice wedding though.
Yeah, it was good fun. But I think me and Nath often say like, oh, what would we do now? Like, you know, 6 years on, trends change and everything, don't they? Yeah, and I was like, I'd have definitely, my confidence in who I am is grown as I've gotten older. So I definitely would have just been like, fuck this, I'm going full leopard print.
Yeah. That would be incredible, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it would have looked cool. He had like a tux and a white jacket with the tux. So
that's phenomenal.
Yeah, he looked incredible. He was like, why should you just be the one wearing like white?
Of course,
and I was like, absolutely.
I think, neon leopard print.
Oh, yeah, that would have been...
Yeah.
Oh, sensational. What would you have changed about your wedding if you could do it again?
Do you know what? My wedding day has to be one of the days I'm most proud of, because we made a commitment, we made a decision when we got married that it was really, really budget. So we hired Hepworth Village Hall.
Oh, nice.
Which is, if you're from Holmfirth, it's just literally just a little village hall in the most beautiful surroundings, you know. And it was about 200 quid for 3 days.
Oh, amazing.
So that was our venue cost. We did a booze run to France, so nobody had to pay for booze. So all our tables were just laden with wine, because we were like, what do we want for a wedding? We want a party.
Yeah.
We just want a party and we want people to feel comfortable. So what don't we want? We don't want a first dance, that awkward thing where people choreograph stuff. That's just not us. We don't want long speeches where people are absolutely bored to hell because they don't really care. They just want to drink. And so we didn't want those. We got a gypsy jazz band, so like manouche jazz.
Nice.
And we just got everybody pissed.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had I had a beautiful dress made, which I'd seen an Alice Temple dress, which was gorgeous. It was like lace, like vintage lace, but black lace as well on the arm, one of the arms. So I was like, can someone remake this? Because I can't afford an Alice Temple dress. So that was the only thing I spent money on, is having a dress made. But everything else was just hugely relaxed. We got married in the parish church in Holmfirth, which I can't believe, but apparently he was telling us that nobody does it.
Really?
Nobody does it. There's hardly any weddings parish church in Holmfirth in the centre. I had my old Golf Cabrio that didn't start. It was like this beautiful papyrus green VW, like Mark 1 Golf Cabrio. It was like Y-Reg. And I was like, I'm using my car. I love this old car. I don't have it anymore, but it didn't start as I got in from the church to go to my venue. And I wouldn't change a thing about it. It's the one day that I think we got it absolutely bloody right. And the comments, I mean, everybody says, oh, it's the best wedding we've ever been to, because that's what they have to do. But people were saying, and husbands of people who came, who didn't know us, were saying, it was just so relaxed and they didn't have to go through any of the rigmarole.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was just a gorgeous country boozy do.
Yeah.
And that is, my mum, bless her, made all this bunting. She made my mum, my kids' waistcoats, my husband's waistcoat.
Oh,
she went to, we've got some Macclesfield silk for like ties and bows, made all this stuff. So it was all just ridiculously budget. We picked wildflowers the day of the wedding and made bouquets. And I didn't have anybody. We didn't have a photographer. We just had my friend take photos.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't change a thing. It's everything that kind of, it was everything. It was local. It was budget. It was us. And everybody was pissed. I mean, that was a great day.
Nailed it.
That was a great day.
Yeah, nailed it. It sounds so nice. And I think I love chatting to people about the weddings because I think everybody has a different view of what a wedding should be.
Yeah.
And like me and Nath were the first of the siblings, the grandchildren to get married.
Yeah.
So we had like expectations.
Yeah.
And we both said like we're glad we did the 3-course meal because unfortunately we don't have his nan and granddad anymore and they really loved it.
That's a lovely thing to have though. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
totally.
I mean, his nan, and she will be laughing, but she sat there till 1:30 in the morning and she had a mobility scooter. Yeah.
I love
She
her.
was cutting around on that mobility scooter. I tell you, Manchester Town Hall did not know what was coming when.
Is that where you had it?
Yeah, yeah.
That's that's what a great venue, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it was great. It was like Harry Potter World.
Wow.
Like, it was insane. And we got it just before they closed for renovation. So we were one of the last handful of weddings.
That's a great venue.
Yeah, it was really good. Because then nobody had to get a bus to go anywhere, or they didn't have to be in 2 different like venues.
Yeah.
Like we got married, literally everybody came out, turned left, and then went into the next room.
Amazing.
Done.
Amazing.
But we had the beer pong. We did like a little photo booth with a Polaroid.
That's fun though.
Yeah, my mate shot it. So he was gradually getting pissed.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
A mate, you know.
Yeah, good fun. And then, yeah, we had it was slightly more traditional because we had the like sit down meal and we had the, fucking hell, the speeches. So I went to do a speech, but by this point I was absolutely wankered. And the only thing I could say was like, Mum, I told you I wanted a Colin the Caterpillar cake. She's never going to live that down. She told me I couldn't have a Colin the Caterpillar cake for a wedding cake. So then I said, well, you go buy a cake. And got a 2-layer cake from, used to be a shop called Home Sweet Home in Manchester in the Northern Quarter.
Yeah.
And they did crazy flavoured cakes. Oh, wow. So this was like Viennese whirl and Battenberg flavoured cake.
I think I've heard of this before, actually, yeah.
Yeah, and it was incredible.
Oh, Battenberg cake.
Yeah.
Stop the press.
It was incredible. And then... So we got married on the 30th of December. So the next day we had a house party with all our mates who were living down south. Who'd come up for a couple of nights.
Phenomenal.
So we took the top layer of the cake because you have to go the next day to those kind of venues and like take whatever you want back. Yeah. Took the top layer of cake. Now, Ali, I thought that everybody else was eating this cake as well. Turns out that I ate over half the cake. By myself.
Good girl. That's what I say. Good girl.
I was like, oh, everyone's enjoying this cake. And Nath was like, no, nobody else has had any.
You are my spirit animal, Charlotte. You are my spirit animal.
It was sensational. And it was just great. And like you, like, there's, if we'd do it again, there'd be little things would change, but only because now we're in a different situation. You know, we're not 30-year-old Nathan Shah anymore, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, love a good wedding.
I think if it's if it's so much of your personality in it, I think some people tend to get lost in it because, like we were talking about duty, feeling, you've got to do things a certain way, and I think if you don't feel that, and it's just your personality in it, you can't fail to get it right, can you?
Yeah, exactly that. And I think all the best weddings we've been to are the ones with a bit of personality. Like you were saying about the first dance, my sister and her husband didn't do a first dance, but they did a first shot of tequila.
I mean,
why not?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And like our mates, they had they got married in a registry office before their wedding, and then they did a wedding in her mum and dad's back garden, put a marquee up, and they had like a is it the Celtic where they do fabric over your hands and stuff?
Yes, like a knot type thing.
A knot ceremony.
Yeah.
And we all sat on hay bales and that. And then we all wheeled round a trailer full of booze to the local village hall, and they had is it a Cayley band where they all grab you and start singing? And like, just incredible.
They're the type of I mean, I remember in my wedding, my husband is a producer. He had his own label, and they had a label based in Manchester called Hood Tracks. And he got up and he brought his decks. So he had his Technics, and he was like playing just a like vinyl only set.
Oh, nice.
Just got up, took his tie off. He was like, this is what I want to do. This is my wedding day. So he had his label lads, and they were all just playing. And what a great, that's a great way. He was like, I'm doing a gig at my own wedding. That's amazing. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. And why not? Like,
this is the stuff you remember.
Yeah, definitely. We went to a wedding in April. I'm not sure if I've told you this, but I knew the bride quite well, and Nath didn't know anybody. And so we were like, it's like a date day, isn't it? So it turns out that I got really fucking hammered. And I've since told my friend about this because she was focused on her day. So then in between like the food and the first dance, we got chatting to some other people, and me and this girl just went off for a wee. And then we're like, she wanted a cigarette. So I was like, oh, I'll join you outside. And then, so my friend got married in like quite a nice stately kind of home. So then I turned my bird app on because I could hear all these birds.
Amazing.
So then I was like, look at this, Liv. Look at all these birds. Look at all these birds. We missed the cake cutting and the first dance because we were listening to the birds.
You know what? The geek in me, Charlotte, wants to go, what birds were they?
I couldn't tell you right this second.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. You've disappointed me, Charlotte. I have that. Chirpomatic, mine's called.
Oh, this is Merlin.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think mine might be like the Wish version, isn't it then?
Oh, I don't know.
Chirpomatic, it's like... But yeah, I love it. I'm addicted to that.
Well, I love it, especially because down here there's so many birds that come. We had a tawny owl, and I don't know whether you believe in signs, but Nath's nan's sign is an owl. No, so his birthday, we were like, what is that racket? And it was like 9:00 at night.
No.
Looked out the door, and there was a tawny owl looking directly at the window, and it just sang a little song to us, then went off and flew up in between the houses.
It was Nath's nan.
Yeah, saying like, happy birthday, dude.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be nothing else but that.
No, exactly. So, I love the app because now I know when the tawny owl's there, and I knew it was a tawny owl because I could click on the app and be like, oh, that's what it is.
Absolutely, I'm addicted to it. And anyone that comes for a walk with me, I'm not kidding. I'm probably the most boring person in the world. I've got so many apps. I'm like, hang on, it's a plant. Just get my plant identifier out. I'll just get my mushroom identifier out.
Yeah.
And I've got birds, mushrooms, plants, insects. I want to know everything, Charlotte. I want to know everything.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, I want to see a plant, or I'm eyeing up people's gardens. People must think I'm so rude when I'm walking the dog. I'm literally head over the fence, like peering in, like, I like that plant. Oh, I like that plant. And Nate's like, stop smelling people's flowers in their garden. He's like, you're going to get a bee sting before long because you're just going to shove your face in a massive rose and just there's going to be bees come at you. And I'm like, yeah, the perfect sting.
Have you never thefted as well, taking a little cutting, you know?
Yeah. Naif's dad carries secateurs with him wherever he goes, and a little like plastic bag. I caught him once cutting something and putting it in his glasses case. So I need to start carrying little secateurs and just like...
Yeah, honestly, addicted.
Yeah. I can't wait to get our garden sorted so I can have a little bit of a growing patch, a little bit of like different things coming out.
Brilliant, because you'll have full sun here, won't you?
Yeah. Yeah, we're full sun. But the downside is we're also 70 mile an hour winds when they come.
Yeah, that's what we moved into our house, which is not far from yours really, but we never realised that it was called Windy Ridge.
Yeah.
It was on the gates, Windy Ridge. I didn't realise at all. I was like, what beautiful views. And then the winter, it's literally like a wind tunnel.
Yeah.
It's so dangerous to open the back door because you literally would just go straight down the valley.
Yeah. We're the same.
Like,
do you see the rain come in sideways?
Yes.
And like you can see it coming in.
Yeah.
And you go, I've got 3 minutes to get washing in. And you run down, like siren and alarm. Get your washing in. It's coming.
We're like, there's a storm coming. Batten down the hatches. It's like...
Exactly that. But I wouldn't change it for the world. Even when it was snowing and I had to message a client with a picture of my car stuck in the snow.
Yeah.
And the tractor hadn't been up. That sounds so country, but there is a tractor that comes and does our, what do they call it? Sprinkle it with salt.
Yeah.
Like Salt Bay.
Yeah.
And he hadn't come that morning and I thought, I can't leave.
Yeah.
So I had to send a picture to the client at 7 a.m. and be like, I'm sorry, I cannot get over to Manchester.
Yeah.
And she went, do not worry, I'm the other side of the hill.
Oh, no way. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think people know. I mean, the winters aren't quite as bad as they were, but I mean, you're too elevated to get anywhere, aren't you?
Yeah.
If it snows here, you are absolutely knackered.
Yeah.
But I loved that about when I was working before, like you were working from home and stuff. I used to be like, oh, I love living in Holmfirth. The amount of times I'd go, oh, I'm sorry, I can't even get out of my drive. Goodbye, I'm not coming in today.
Yeah.
And it was just the best bit about living in Holmfirth were the winters.
Yeah.
And how harsh it was.
Yeah. I'm just a little bit, it gets a bit sketchy with the ice because the roads are like lanes, basically.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's one of those, you just cope with it, don't you? You just go, well, fuck it.
Yeah.
There's worse places to be stuck when there's 3 foot of snow.
Definitely, mate. And you know, a bit of tobogganing down Cinder Hills.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think we like slid down and landed straight in Cask. Like, well, we'll watch the world go by.
Oh dear. Yeah. I'll have a glass of Pinot, please.
Yeah. Heaven forbid. Oh, we're just in our tracksuit bottoms and our walking boots. And Sam's like, don't worry about it. It's fine. But yeah, that's also that I like that sense of community. Like here, it's so nice. I chat about it all the time because it's just so friendly and just a nice, creative space.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It's unique. I mean, you know, I've lived, well, I guess not all over, but lots of places I lived just don't have what it has here. It really is unique. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Is that the bus? Oh no.
No. Flash something. Come on. Get a boob out.
Well, it's in my arse, so you know, may as well make it a whole house.
Yeah, it's ace. I love it. It's super friendly. It's safe. My kids love it. You know, they're older now, but they get involved in stuff, and it's just, you know, it's a really supportive community.
Yeah, massive. Like when I walked into society, I was like, this is it. It's full of like people who want you to succeed, and support you in such a nice way. Yeah, and nobody's pushy. Like, you know, some business advice that some people can get really pushy, and nobody's like that. They're like, oh, cool, you're doing this cool thing, and oh, let's go to your club, or you know, your exhibition, or you know, nobody's negative. I'm not finding that. No,
I just love that. And society is really special, isn't it, for that, I think. But that collaborative thing. Yeah. And you're going, what can I do to support you? You know, how can I, we both want the same ends, but what can I give to you? And what can you give to me? And, you know, just to further ourselves or you know, do something in a different way, or just a lack of ego, I think.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think it's the collaboration and the complete lack of ego.
Yeah.
And I've walked in there and I don't really know many people in there really, but you just stand and have a chat.
Yeah.
And before you know it, I'm probably the worst person to go in there actually, because all I do is chew everybody's fucking ear off. And they're all like, we have to get on with work. This is a working space, Charlotte. But it's such a friendly place that you can sit and chat for half an hour.
Definitely.
And get to know people. And that's actually how we got to know each other, was through like meeting in society. And it's just, I love that the town's got that space.
Yeah, hugely needed.
Yeah, because I think someone was saying that there's a similar space in the tech, but it's not as...
I've heard that. I've heard that. And I guess the tech's great for... I guess it's a different thing, isn't it? The space in the tech. But the vibe in society is absolutely unique. And the best thing about it is there's a real danger sometimes in Holmfirth because it is changing, of it being up its own arse.
Yeah.
There's a, and for me as a creative, sometimes I find that really uncomfortable. You've got to be really cautious about it end up being so pretentious it goes up its own arse. And I think that's the beautiful thing about society is, and I must admit, when it was first being done, I was like, oh, what's this going to be? What's it going to be like? Is it going to be a place that I feel comfortable walking into, putting my foot over that threshold?
Yeah.
And you only have to meet Zoe and people like Joe Amelia, and you go in and you go, oh my God, we've been desperate for something like you. Yeah. Someone like you. The test for me is if my husband goes in and feels warm and welcoming, and then and he's the most socially awkward. He's fabulous, but he's the most socially awkward guy. And he was like, this place is ace. I love this vibe. And I was like, yeah, no, it is unique. It is unique. And the people in it, so diverse in terms of what they do in their backgrounds.
Yeah. Financial directors, there's mortgage advisors, there's creatives. Yeah. There's I overheard somebody works for a big milk corporation. There's
it's fascinating.
Oh, it's fantastic. And then the plus side is people are allowed to take their well-behaved dogs in there.
I know.
And just...
there's a lot of dog cheek rubbing.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, is it's just vital for your mental health, Charlotte.
Yeah. Is it... what's the tiny dog's name? Celia?
No, it's not, is it? But I know.
I can't remember her name.
Stephen's dog, isn't it?
Yeah. And
oh my gosh, she's just adorable.
She's so cute. She's the tiniest thing. Is she like a border terrier? Something like that?
Like a wiry terriery thing, isn't it?
Oh, she's just fantastic, but she's so small.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, am I stroking you too hard? Because you're so tiny.
And she's so eager to be stroked as well, isn't she?
Yeah. And then there's a nice little spaniel.
Oh God, yeah, Chris's dog is absolutely just adorable.
Although that dog, if you blink, it will be in your bag.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'd just take it anyway.
Yeah, same.
Just too cute.
Same. I'm like, you can sniff spect, whatever you want. Just whatever you want. Just take it. You want my sandwich? Go for it.
I do feel like I've met some amazing people there. Like you, Joe, Zoe, who runs it, is just the most, I think, possibly one of the most incredible brains.
Yeah. Oh, her brain doesn't stop.
No. Amazing. Unique, just, and warm. Yeah. And earthy. And wow, what a combination that is.
Yeah. And I think what they've done there, and with her being the head of it, is the right thing, is what Holmfirth needed.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think, is it Stephen who drives from Manchester to come over?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's co-working spaces all over in Manchester, and he's making a conscious choice to come here.
And I can totally see why.
Yeah.
Because it really is. And it's the start of it, Charlotte, so where the heck is it going to go?
Yeah. And it is so exciting to see these older buildings being made into usable spaces for everybody.
Definitely.
And I love that she's doing markets, and then there's Cicely's Creative Club, and then there's the silent book retreat that they do there, and lots of other, it's being open as a community space that I think I think we're definitely missing in this country, is the community spaces.
Yeah, definitely.
And it just means you can network, but in an easier...
Yeah.
You're not at some kind of snooty networking event where people are like, my name's Mark. I do this.
Yeah.
it's very relaxed.
Yeah, yeah.
And nobody's saying like, oh, well, you can't come in here because you're not doing finance or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
There's space for everybody. I just really like it. I think it's really good.
I love that. And I love the fact that, you've got businesses who probably are earning 7 times more than what I would earn. But Zoe's found a way to make it accessible because she wants that, to be diversified in terms of the people who are in there. So I'm like, that's great.
Yeah.
And, she's finding people who are local who've maybe been hidden. And, she's bringing out the best in local people. And I think that's absolutely phenomenal. And let's see where it goes, because there's a real lack of like that kind of European coffee culture in terms of, there's loads of coffee shops in Holmfirth and they're all great and stuff, but I think there's something about, the evening, open in the evening, having a coffee, having creatives, having a conversation, lots of different people in one place.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there's a real gap in that European music, live music, DJs, something really cool where you can go in, but you feel warm and welcoming.
Because I think there is spaces, and actually, this is quite a funny story, but we went to Nora Cocktail Bar.
Yes.
When maybe this was like last summer.
Yeah.
And we turned up at about 6:30.
Yeah.
Right. Because we were like, let's see what it's like. We're not massively into like loads of heavy music while we're having a drink.
Yeah.
And we were just kind of like, let's work through a couple of the cocktails on the menu. And like the owner was there. Yeah. And forgive me because I can't remember his name, but he was like, and then this is this, and really explaining stuff to us. And then he went, by the way, are you guys in your mid-30s? And we went, yeah. And he went, how can you tell? And he went, it's 6:30. And he was like, everybody else comes from like 8:00.
Oh no.
So
you were at the prinking stage.
We were like, and then it started to get younger in there. And we were like, right, okay, now let's head out, because the music started going, and like it's a great space, and it's designed so beautifully inside. Yeah. And I actually said to him, like, you need to get on location, shooting locations. There's a couple of agencies, because it's big enough and it's got a cool kind of like what's that famous like bar from the 70s, like the American bar, I can't remember what it's called.
Not Studio 54.
Yeah, Studio 54 kind of vibes.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, that's an ace idea. But yeah, me and Nath don't like the super loud, like kind of like a gentle bit of music I think is fine, that you kind of get in European cities, but I don't necessarily want to hear like drum and bass.
Yeah. Well, that's a late evening thing, isn't it? And I think that's what we're missing. Yeah. Is like, we were doing our preview evening, and it was final down there, and it was more like that kind of Giles Peterson vibe, and it was just nice. It was just cool. Yeah. It just felt cool. And it felt like that was a niche that we haven't got filled.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, but it's great.
So you're just talking about your exhibition then? Yeah. Your preview. How did you find Holmfirth Art Week? Was this your first exhibition?
So I've put pieces in Holmfirth Art Week before, but I've never done like an exhibition, like the proper kind of exhibition style. Yeah. So this is my first one. So I did that with Joe Melia at Society, and yeah, I loved it. Lots of nice conversations with people, and loads of lovely compliments, because I think I'm just at that stage of getting people to kind of know what I'm doing and introducing Folks and Fabric to people. So it was just a nice opportunity to go, this is the kind of stuff I do. Yeah. And actually the amount of people who go, are these digital? Are these done digitally? But it's nice to have a conversation with people and say, I don't think people can believe that they're done digitally. Yeah. Which is interesting. People think that they're traditional medium, because they're quite graphic in the style as well, and it almost kind of feels like that kind of color. It could be like a collage type vibe, where you've got like the layers and the different colors, and like I think some people can't get their heads around digital artwork. So yeah, it was fantastic, brilliant opportunity to meet people and have a conversation, and I loved it. Yeah, it was good fun. So were you down in Society for the whole week when it was on? Yes, I was. I I am terrible. I am terrible at. I'm just not the most socially adept person, and sometimes that's pretty intense. That for me,
Yeah.
being absolutely truthful and honest is like having to do the
like hosting almost. Isn't
yeah.
Yeah.
It is not. It's. I love it. It's really interesting talking to people, but I do find it pretty exhausting. God, I sound pathetic. That sounds pathetic. I'm sorry. I just have to talk to people. It's just awful. But
I find the same with doing model work.
yeah,
I find it like I'm hosting and I get really tired.
Yeah.
Like it kind of drains my social battery.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
you kind of so I just need like a few hours to just be like, I just need some time on my Todd.
Definitely. I'm a real, I'm quite not a loner, but I do struggle with. I've always been really comfortable in my own company.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in my own brain and in my own mind. Don't get me wrong, I love people. I love having conversations with people.
Yeah.
But, I also need that, exactly like you've said, that downtime to go, wow.
Yeah. And also I imagine when you're dealing with the public is different to dealing with friends. And especially when it's your artwork that is personal, it can feel probably harder. They're almost like harder conversations because it's...
Yeah. And I think it's a little bit like, you want to have a conversation. I want to have a conversation with someone and I want it to be natural. I don't want them to think I'm going into that room to go, can you buy my art, please? Hi. And I feel really awkward when I go in and have a conversation like that. And I just genuinely want them to ask me questions. And
Yeah.
so over all my stuff for Art Week, I was like, come and chat to the artist. Don't worry, you don't have to buy anything. Just chat to the artist. I don't want you to feel under pressure.
Yeah, yeah.
But I really struggle with anything to do with selling my art or feeling like I'm having to sell my art.
I think that's hard. Like, I find that hard to sell myself.
Yeah,
that sounds crass, but like,
yes,
you have
well,
to...
you are the commodity, aren't you?
Yeah. And it's hard to sell. It's hard to kind of flick that switch and be like, hey, I'm amazing, and flick your hair over your shoulder and be like, book me, buy my work. Yeah. And then you're like, oh shit, the imposter comes in, doesn't it?
Always.
Oh, that little bastard.
Always. I mean, I've always referred to it as the darkness. I used to do some illustrations of the darkness and like this personified character of him like knitting this shroud of self-doubt to wear it, in winter.
Yeah.
He's always coming in and going, you know what? You're a bit shit. You're a bit shit. And everybody's going, you're a bit shit.
Yeah.
But yeah. So having to say, hello, this is my art. It just feels, it's a bit, I'm embarrassed. I'm terminally embarrassed to talk about myself in some ways.
Yeah. And it kind of, it's almost that cringe. I get a bit of cringe. And then I'm like, hold on a minute. There's other people who are watching what I'm doing and being like, oh,
I know.
I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
Or, like, isn't she confident or whatever? And actually internally,
yes,
I'm going like, shriveling like a little prune.
Yeah, I get that a lot because I think outwardly I guess I kind of appear pretty confident in terms of that side of stuff, but internally, exactly like you, Sam, like that swan. Look, you might look like you're gliding along, but underneath I'm panicking and thinking, what are people thinking of me?
Yeah. And that's very difficult to let go of.
Yeah.
Like, incredibly difficult.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like as I'm getting older, I am learning to let go of it.
I am, definitely. Yeah, it's shedding.
Yeah. But there's still that, like, tiny little tick that's going, hee, wonder what they're thinking of you. Yeah. Actually, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, are you?
No, I think sometimes that's harder as well because I'm self-taught around what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So I used to be like, oh, I don't have a place here. I don't have a place at this table. Yeah. And now I just think, oh, fuck off. No, fuck off. I absolutely do have a place at the table. It's like I try and think about, when I was doing my degree and I think about my comparison is like, as an archaeologist, I think some of the best archaeologists are the amateur archaeologists. They know fucking loads more than a lot of people who go and do this degree.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm not comparing myself in that way, but what I'm saying is, So I don't judge those people who, you know, I don't judge your metal detectors. You're interested, that's fine, go and do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I have really shared that. And I talk to other people who are just getting into it as well. And I'm huge on saying, do not believe that voice in your head.
No.
You have a right to sit at a table, and don't let anybody try to persuade you that you don't.
Yeah. It's like, I think I've got so much respect for people who are self-taught in things as well, who have gone a untraditional way.
Yeah.
They're not following the life script of what Nanny says they should do.
Yeah.
And that they're like learning something different.
Yeah.
And like, damn straight you've got a space at the table.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, just because your journey's different doesn't mean you're not as worthy to be there.
1,000%. 1,000%. Yeah. I'm a big advocate for that. That's one thing I in the last maybe 5 or 6 years, I've become like quite vociferous about that, and that's something I really want to advocate for, that actually if you can be asked to get I remember when I was about in my 20s, I remember reading, I was a huge like Tim Burton fan, and I was reading like a biography about him, and he was talking about when he made the film Ed Wood, and he was talking about Ed Wood, and obviously terrible filmmaker in terms of the traditional sense, you know, and that was what the film was about, I guess. But I remember reading this quote from Tim Burton, and he basically said, I think he's absolutely phenomenal. Something like, I'm really paraphrasing terribly, but he's an amazing guy because he got off his arse and did it. Yeah. Doesn't matter what it was, you know, it was putting himself out there and continuing and being passionate about it and doing it. And that stuck with me for ages. And I was like, yeah, he's right. That's what you should admire in people. Yeah. People who want to learn, people who want to do something different, who are getting off their arse, who are committing to it and doing stuff. Yeah.
And I think in that is sometimes you have to go at it without being perfect straight off the bat.
Definitely.
And you learn as you go.
Defo.
And stuff like changes. And then you go, oh, fuck, I've figured out how to do that quicker or better. Or, you know. Yeah. But if you don't start, that stalling in the starting means you might be another 2 years before you start, where you could have been so much further on.
Defo.
And just having that passion and that drive, I think, to do it.
Definitely.
And getting over your own, like...
It doesn't matter how you get there as well. I think, you know, if someone were to watch my process digitally, someone who maybe trained could do what I do in a third of the time. Yeah. It might take me longer to get there. I don't care. It doesn't matter.
But it's the enjoying the process of doing it.
It's absolutely that. And actually the process is really, really meditative for me in some ways. Yeah. So I really enjoy the process. The process is ace. That's half of it.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I totally agree with you on that, Charlotte. Definitely.
It's having that, just having that process and the balls to just go and do it and be like, well, I'm going to give this a bash.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And just... I don't know whether that is like as you hit your 30s, I definitely have noticed like my giving a shit is much less. Yeah. And like my bullshit detector goes off a lot more as well now. Yeah. Yeah. And
be careful who you surround yourself with, I think, as well. Yeah. It's if you're around people who champion you and just, you know, who want the best for you, that's just ace, isn't it? Yeah. And that just fills you with confidence, and then your little imposter like monster just shrinks and shrinks and shrinks, and then you can just squish it with your foot. Definitely. Just definitely. I think you're so right. It's like sharing with the right people and like filtering out the people who maybe aren't thinking the best for you. Yeah. And like I went to therapy a little while ago. Yeah. And she said, I've said this to Nathan, I was like, was this the secret diagnosis, right? But she said to me, she goes, this is quite funny. She goes, so what I teach my autistic people who come for therapy. And I went, okay. She went, so yeah, we have these like circles of groups of people, and she was like, oh, so we have our close friends, and then we have like our like good friends, and then like our work colleagues and stuff like that. And she was like, just be aware of like who you're putting in what pot, you know, in what ring. Interesting. And then she was like, said autistic again, and I was like, looking at her like, do you know something I don't know? Should I
start a process there.
Is there a pathway I need to be getting on?
I haven't investigated further. But I think that's a really like nice way of putting it, as well as like surrounding yourself in this close circle and then letting other people in can be quite intimidating initially.
Yeah.
But if they're the right, you've almost got to be vulnerable enough to let these people in.
Yeah.
And be like, well, it might fuck up, but it might be brilliant.
Yeah.
And just kind of surrounding yourself with those creatives and those people who are really championing you.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think we've all had it. I definitely have it every so often. And I'm like, oh, I thought that person was a really good friend. And actually, they're maybe a good work friend.
Yes.
Not a champion, like, best friend, you know? Definitely. But I think I definitely have found my best friend is my husband. Like,
yeah.
You know?
Me too.
And
it's not your husband, it's my husband.
Yeah. I mean, you can have him if you want. Could do with a break. No, I'm kidding. But and so then you have good girlfriends, and I have good friends, and it's surrounding myself with people who are going, "Fuck, that's amazing."
Yeah.
Or like, and then me saying it back. Like a friend's just come to me with an idea that she wants to do, and I'm like, "That's fucking brilliant."
Yeah.
Fucking brilliant. Like I'm just got like do it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I know what you mean. I feel like I'm surrounded as well by people with that positive energy of people who going, we want to make things happen. I'm loving that at the minute. Like, and that's what's lovely about, you know, meeting you and meeting Cicely and meeting Joe, Zoe.
Yeah.
It's all these people now who, rather than seeing a barrier, and I came from that world of like everything was a barrier and everything was negative, to this thing of going, you know, what can we do? What can we do together? How can we make things, you know, some incredible things?
Yeah.
And that's just lovely to be around positive people who are moving forward and moving things forward. I think that's ace.
Yeah. And definitely using the sense of community. And it's hard to be positive all the time. And sometimes you need someone else to be like, you're doing all right.
Yeah.
And, you know, go on, shove you in that direction and give you that nudge. And I definitely think, oh, Coco's snoring.
I know, she's absolute. I just want to cuddle up on that sofa with her.
She'd love it. She'd love it. She does not give any shit.
Smooch right on that nose.
But yeah, it's having those people along for the ride while you're doing what you're doing and really championing you. I think it's such a positive thing. It's such a good thing. And especially here, I feel like the creative community is growing so strong.
Yeah.
Like even with like Charlotte's life drawing classes and like I actually bought one of her plates to use as a prop, and then she messaged me and was like, a big company's just messaged to say that can they borrow one of my you know, her piece of artwork. How much should I charge? And I'm like, right, you should charge this, do this, you know. And like, it's having that like group of people that you can lean on and be like, oh, what would you do in this situation? What would you do in? And it's like just really going like, fuck yeah, there's people in the Holme Valley who are killing it.
Brilliant. And you know, that's that unique thing with business as well, that link in with business, which, you know, if you want to make money from creativity, you've got to get your business head on, haven't you?
Yeah.
So it's great to have those links in society where you're having this conversation. I mean, I was having a conversation, it was unrelated to stuff I was doing, but we were talking about somebody else who was creating a line of, I don't know, maybe a cologne or something. I can't remember what we were having this conversation about, but somebody just jumped in and went, oh, I might have a contact for a supplier in China. It's like, I would never have known anything about that.
Yeah. So,
but people are actively trying to help create. So it's like businesses and creatives.
Yeah.
Because they're in that, you know, that access to that knowledge and that experience is phenomenal. Someone said to me the other day, talking about, you know, they were the business folk, you know, let's look at, can I help you look at some passive income streams? I'm like, yeah, of course you can. Yeah. Of course you can. I don't know. Hey, well, that's great. Nice.
Why not? And like, that's that extra help that as creatives, sometimes we're seen as like, oh, you're doing the silly hippy dippy thing. And actually like, we're making money from we are successful and we're making money from something that we really love doing. Yeah. And then it's finding, like you say, those passive incomes as well, and the other things that you can do that maybe you, I don't know about you, I get so focused on like my styling, and then I'm like, oh shit, got to do X, Y, Z, or like, I've got to message my accountant or do the website, and it's all those other little bits that sometimes you forget about because you're honed in on one thing. Yeah. And that's so great that we've got that network down.
Yeah.
In such a tiny town.
It's just that idea of reciprocity, and so I love that reciprocal stuff.
Yeah.
I'll help you, you help me. It's just phenomenal. I love that. I mean, it's how, for me, it's the basis of literally a good society.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
It's that old school, they used to call it like a gentleman's handshake, didn't they? Like right, I'll trade you my skill, you trade me your skill.
Yeah, it's trade, isn't it? Absolutely.
Know. And like, why, it works.
It really does.
It really works.
It does. It does.
You know, I think Zoe said to me the other week, she was like, I might have a job for you. And I was like, right.
Brilliant.
And she goes, it's a styling job. And I was like, oh, how weird. This is so cool. Like, Zoe was not the person that I thought would come to me with a styling job.
But you know what? And why not? And then I know exactly what you're talking about. I had a conversation with a company that are working from society about projects that we're going to be working on together. And out of that conversation, they were talking about something else unrelated. And I signposted them to Joe.
Yeah.
And I was like, you need to approach it. The Joe would be great. So now it's that, you know, doing things for other people, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, thank you for pointing. It's that making the links.
Yeah. And it's making the links with then out getting your ass bitten.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's sometimes the bit I find difficult. But here, I don't think that would happen.
No.
And I think that's like something I've always tried to do in my own business, is like pass people on, and, you know, I can't do this job. This person's great. This person's great. This person's great. But it can be difficult. It can be difficult. But I think that's also because it's so niche, and sometimes you cross in paths with essentially competitors as well.
Yeah.
But it is nice when you go, right, I've got the person for that. I might not be the right person, but here's the person who's fucking fantastic at doing fashion, or fucking fantastic at doing like, food or whatever.
Yeah.
And like that then just builds into your own tapestry of your network and your career. And, you know, it's just great that people work like that still.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I was talking about it the other day, and essentially it's just an informal creative agency, I feel like, down there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That you don't really have the umbrella, but you know, it doesn't necessarily need to be formalised. There are just so many different skill sets down there that actually someone comes with an issue, a goal, something they want, you know, a solution they want, and you've got a myriad of people who can offer something, or they've got different skill sets, and you know, it should just be used like that. For me, that's how I see kind of society working. Yeah,
definitely. And like, not that we're ever going to move, but knowing that there's a mortgage advisor down there, or finance person, or like accountants and stuff like that, like, it's fantastic.
Definitely.
Because you never know what might happen, and you might need somebody like that, or like, you know, it's just nice to know that they're there, but they're all in one place rather than like dotted around, and then you're like, oh, who's this? I've never met them.
And then built on authentic relationships, isn't it? Rather than, you know, this kind of transient bullshit. Yeah. You know, Chris, I can ask him something about finance, and I know he's incredible because I've seen him with people, you know, or whatever that is. But it's just cool.
It's really good. I've got one final question for you. Answer it however you want. But what inspires you?
Stories. Yeah. Stories. Always has to come back to stories. I am so nosy, Charlotte. I've realised that. I have realised that I am so nosy. Like, I will look at a person, right? I find this is my absolute confessions coming out. So I can get myself lost in a maze on like Instagram or Facebook of like, I guess it's stalking. Okay. I guess it's stalking. No, I'm just intrigued as to. It can start off with one person who I look at, you know, and then look at who are their relationships with, who are their friendships with. I am fascinated by people. I'm fascinated by how, I guess, one event can create a person.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and that goes back to the children's book thing. That's at the heart of it. I love children's books and stories, and my comedy writing and all that kind of stuff. That is, I guess, my history of going, you're creating this character, but what's the story behind them? How have they come to be? And that could be right down to, you know, what house they lived in as a kid.
Yeah.
What, you know, all these threads that make up this person, this character, it's all stories. Everything's stories.
Yeah.
Everything. So stories, man, I think is my biggest thing. I can see a story in absolutely anything. I love that side of stuff. So yeah, stories.
Oh, I love it. What a great answer. Because I think everyone's got their own tapestry.
Yeah.
And similarly to you, I'm quite nosy, hence the reason for the podcast. And I think I love to find out why people are like they are, why they're like going ballet, kickboxing, why they're like in the house they're in.
Yeah, yeah.
Why they're like doing the big why question.
Definitely.
And like it just, it's so interesting. And just like you say, you're seeing people, random people with their zebra trousers on.
Yeah.
Like, you need to start approaching people.
Do you know, I do. I need to have I need to finish the story behind the... Yeah. I have to ask, aren't I? Where are you going? What are you doing? Because that really does fill in the gaps.
Can you imagine like next year we're at Holmfirth Art Week, if you've then got zebra trousers lady and you're like, where were you going? What were you doing? As like a little placard next to it.
Imagine if we did a little photo and the illustration, photo of the face, illustration, story. I definitely need to fill in those gaps, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. We'll have to set you up with a little like clip on microphone.
But what if the stories are really dull?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Sometimes the dull ones, there's layers to them, and sometimes they only want to tell you the dull bit. Yeah. And you just need to poke a little bit more.
If I can get some psychoanalytical skills going as well, Charlotte, we could really have some like really interesting stories coming out.
Do you want me to go and poke them?
Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
Come with you and just start poking people. I've been known as the pokey woman.
I know, I'm going to have to get better at my social awkwardness and actually approach people. But yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, massively. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please rate, follow and share, as it really helps this little podcast out. And if you have found value in the podcast and you have the means to, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. This will help keep the podcast going. Join me next week for another fantastic guest. Bye!